Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Okay.
Write this down. Write it down. You like writing things down.
Time for another Write That Down session here. The only show or shows in America, if you include the OG, the Mackey and Judd edition on the Score North YouTube channel, that puts statistics next to our predictions every single week, so we can all admit how often we are wrong on the show here. You know, we give a lot of opinions, a lot of takes, a lot of predictions, and we don't just want those wrong predictions to skate by. We're all about accountability on the show here, right, Judd?
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I absolutely love being held accountable. Not once, but twice every Wednesday. For those who are wondering, hey, Zolgad, when are you held accountable? Well, it's
More than you,
on Wednesday.
Random guy on Twitter
exactly.
Who's asking.
How would you like it if you came home and your wife sat down and said, "Here's what you got wrong, huh?"
It actually is. It's a good marital weekly session. You could do your accountability session back and forth. Keep notes.
We'll be at the airport later this afternoon. I guarantee she already has things written down that I will do to either annoy her or upset her or get under her skin. I will bet my life that she has things written down in her phone that Declan did this. So I'll report back.
Here, Dex. You're wrong about this.
Yep.
And then
just remember, that is a one-way street.
Yes.
So if you turn that around and you're like, well, I'd like to talk about your faults.
let me pull up my list here.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what? That gets you no talking zone, which Declan, as we found out, hates.
Don't like that.
No talking zone.
Don't.
The wife completely shuts it down. No talking.
Please talk to me. I'll start kissing ass if you stop talking to me. I will. I will do anything I can to make you start talking to me. Please.
The uncomfortable silent zone. So, okay, we'll get to the accountability session, the predictions here, some latest Vikings news, but we start our journey at Quick Trip here, Judd. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Because why? Because Quick Trip is a grocery store. And you're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, no, it's really not, but it is. Because it has everything that you could possibly want. Look at all of these options, the food here. We're talking about snacks. We're talking about breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're talking about whatever you could possibly want. If you are looking for apps, you can get those too. Quick Trip makes your life as easy as possible. And now you're saying, but here's the thing, Sports Dad, it doesn't, because I might have to go inside. No, you don't. You can put the app on your phone. Quick Trip's going to bring the stuff, the food, out to you. That is how simple it is with Quick Trip. The best part, they live up to their name. If you go to Quick Trip, it's going to be quick, it's going to be a great trip, and it's going to be successful because Quick Trip is there for you.
Also, North American Banking Company is powering Write That Down every single week. It's a Minnesota-based banking company with 6 locations across the Twin Cities: Maple Grove, Roseville, Shoreview, Hastings, Woodbury, and 50th in France. And they're all about personal relationships and making sure that your accounts are secure. Very much advanced technology here in the banking industry that the North American Banking Company is using. And spring is the perfect time, whether you're planning a big project of some kind or maybe you're looking to find a new home, for instance. North American Banking Company is here to help with the mortgage process. So they have experts that help get a home loan simple and stress-free, whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or refinancing. With the spring market heating up, you may need a lender that's ready to move as fast as you are, and North American Banking Company can help you. Go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Write this down.
All right. Let's start with Judd here on the accountabilities. And by the way, if you're new to Write That Down, it's very simple. On Purple Daily, it's 3 Vikings or football-related predictions from everybody on the show every single week. We stockpile them throughout the year, which runs Super Bowl to Super Bowl. And we keep track of completion percentage and touchdowns on this show. And if you want to be a guest listener predictor like Brian is about to be in a few minutes, you can send Declan a message through the Score North app, and we'll get you scheduled. So, all right, Judd.
Rodgers.
You said Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback for the New York Football Giants.
Let's hear it
This season.
Yep.
I mean, could they add him to a room that includes Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito?
Take it off the board. Yes. Yeah, no, they are not going to. You're fine. It's red.
that room, it's too bad the Giants are never going to be on Hard Knocks again, because if we could like rewind time, we get a Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Tommy DeVito quarterback room with hot seat coach, hot seat general manager.
Run it back. Run it back,
Come
I
on,
say.
Giants. All right, I had one thing come off the board. I said correctly, season 2 of quarterback will include Joey Burrow. That's right. Joe Burrow.
Joe Cool.
Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. Who's the third one?
Yes.
Yeah, Goff is
Jared Goff.
Goff's in the mix for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, listeners had nothing come off the board, but I do want to highlight a prediction that's still on the board here. So Jay said, this is like 2 years ago. Jay said when Trey Lance signs his second contract in the NFL, it'll be for no more than league average for starting quarterbacks, which you might think, oh, yeah, I mean, we can take that. Clearly, like, there's no way he signs a contract for $30 or $40 million a year. Mm-hmm. But the wording of this assumes that Trey Lance signs a second contract, and he's still a free agent sitting out there. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't get a second contract, if the league just bails on him, then technically this will be wrong here. So Jay is now, it's no longer a question of whether he's going to get the league average starting quarterback money. Jay just needs Trey Lance to sign with anyone here in the next few weeks or few months.
But I don't blame Jay here, because to think that he might not have gotten a second contract is mind-boggling.
It's pretty crazy. Now, Ponder never got a second contract, right?
No, he did.
You went to the Raiders
And the Broncos.
But
and
wasn't
the
that
Broncos.
right? But wasn't that all part of the 5-year rookie scale?
No, because they declined his 5th year, right? They didn't
Yeah.
obviously didn't pick up.
I think
his
the
5th
contract.
year.
I think the contract ran out here, and then he left and signed elsewhere.
Yeah, that sounds right.
For Trey Lance not to get a second contract would be really. I mean, I feel for Jay here. Let's just say that.
All right, Dex had 2 things come off the board. He said Stephon Diggs would sign with an NFC team. Patriots.
Pretty good payday for
$26 million guaranteed yesterday.
For a guy coming off an ACL. I mean, he's good when he's healthy, but for a guy coming off an ACL tear, that's a pretty nice chunk of change.
And the Patriots they have so much cap space. They're so desperate for any weapon for Drake May that maybe it's an overpay, but like you have to spend you can't just like roll over $100 million in cap space, right? So
Incredible.
they're like, all right, Stephon, why don't you come on down here for $26 million guaranteed? And then Declan also said Joe Burrow, Derek Carr, and or Baker Mayfield would be on season 2 of quarterback, and Joey Burrow. Baker would have been great.
Oh, Baker would be awesome. Baker would be awesome.
In fact, could we just replace? I know that they've already recorded it, but like, could we replace Jared Goff with Baker Mayfield retroactively?
I saw some people like upset, like, why is Kirk on again? It's like, are you kidding me? This is going to be awesome. We get to watch his benching take place, and we get to watch his transition to Atlanta. Like, I'm excited to watch this. I think it's going to be sweet.
And clearly, a lot of guys said no.
Yeah,
I bet Baker said no. I bet Baker was asked and said no. I do think there's a fighting chance though that there will be a Jameis Winston reality show in like the next couple of years.
Do you think because like the
He's good
Fox
enough now?
Declan's been calling for the Fox Sunday pregame show to be nuked for like 3 years, and Jimmy Johnson just retired.
Yeah.
Or as was it KFC Barstool put it? Someone put it hilariously that Jimmy Johnson retired from retirement.
Yeah, accurate.
Like a once a week job. And like Gronk is not. He's just kind of a bit player. God. Could Jameis Winston hang on a pregame show every week more than Gronk does?
yes.
That's a really good question.
I think
Can he
so.
like break? He's funny and he's weird and eclectic.
Yeah.
But could he like give you actual analysis on top of that?
I feel like Jameis, I almost prefer having fun non-football Jameis. Like, I feel like he's more of a personality. I don't know that he cares enough about, like because we're talking about, can you sort of break things down, be fun, blah, 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 right? I feel like Jameis's life is what I want. Like, I want to see his life experiences.
Right. Well, you're talking about like a reality show.
Yes. I don't know that he would.
Eating W's with Jameis Winston on TLC this summer.
Exactly. I don't know that he would thrive in a studio show.
It would have to be like a TNT style where you got your Ernie Johnson,
Right.
And
The
he would there'd be three guys, and he'd be kind of the goofy Charles Barkley type.
Yes.
But Barkley brings, Barkley's goofy, but then Barkley brings serious takes and whatnot too.
Barkley brilliantly sort of marries not knowing a thing about the current league with knowing a little something.
Yeah.
I can't even describe it.
Yeah, who he play for is the fact that you can go from like a serious rant about the state of the Western Conference, and then let's figure out if Charles knows who any of these players play for. So anyways, here's the 2025 season stats. It's a Super Bowl to Super Bowl season, so we're kind of just getting started. I'm at 64.5% completions. Nice little start here. Judd's at 50%. Nice start for him too. Listeners at 40%, and then last year's completion percentage champion Declan 23%. Only one touchdown. I have the only touchdown so far on the season. And then all-time career stats: Declan 36.5% completions. Judd just under 35%. I'm at 34.5%. Listeners at 24%, but they have the touchdown lead with 60 all-time touchdowns. So there you have it. Let's get Brian in here, making his debut on Write That Down. Brian, what's going on, man? What jersey are you repping today?
We got J.A., Justin Jefferson.
Okay. Nice. So, yeah, give us your background as a Vikings fan. How did you get hooked on this team?
Actually, I grew up watching the Vikings. My dad was a Vikings fan, a big fan of the Purple People Eaters. I'm a little bit closer in age to sports dad than the rest of you. So my childhood Vikings quarterback was like Tommy Kramer, Wade Wilson, and on from there. So.
Oh, yeah. Good old days. Good old days. The only jersey, the only Vikings jersey I've had, a number 9 Kramer. Wore it with pride to 3rd grade, man. St. Therese, I'd tear it up. I'd go tear it up at recess, take off my jacket, just have the jersey on, slinging the pigskin around. It was great.
Love it.
And I had the Wade Wilson. I think my first two jerseys were Anthony Carter
That's a good
and Wade Wilson from, like, I don't know, 1990 or something.
That's awesome.
Dante. I had Dante.
Well, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's solid. That's solid. Whiskey Wade was great, but I mean, I just didn't see a lot of
Whiskey Wade. And he
Wade
hung
Wilson.
around wasn't he like a Cowboys backup in the 90s, like the late 90s too?
He was a quarterbacks coach too for them, yeah.
So Whiskey Wade and old Tommy enjoyed a little post-game cocktail.
No, I want to
late
say the story is, if I'm not mistaken, Whiskey Wade might have come from Tommy because I believe Wade didn't drink.
Also, it was like sarcastic.
Just a joke, yeah.
Okay.
Just a joke, because Tommy did imbibe a little bit, or
A
a
little
lot
bit.
or a lot bit.
I feel like not to make, because Tommy's had some health issues lately or whatever, but he did announce, I think, finally he's like given up hard alcohol now. The fact that you can go that far into your life too, still be slamming whiskey.
I think he quit totally like a year or two back now. I think he's done totally.
Good, Tommy. Just
good for Tommy.
Let's milk 10 more years out of this thing here. Stay away from the alky. So, all right, Brian, we're going to start with you. Over to Judd. Declan, back to me. We'll make 3 trips around the room as usual, and
Write this down.
you get the first prediction. Fire away.
Right on. So my first prediction is end of season stats for J.J. McCarthy. I had these stats chosen last week, and then I heard the guys over at First and Skull earlier this week, and they had similar stats, so I felt like I had to up the heat a little bit. So this is a little bit spicier for JJ at the end of the year. So here we go.
Okay.
Write this down. Next season, J.J. McCarthy will have 4,000 or more passing yards, 30 or more total touchdowns, will throw no more than 14 interceptions, and will have a QBR of 70 or higher. And you guys can decide if that's a touchdown or not. But
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah, you got enough going, because I mean, some of these are just cumulative. Like he has to start basically the full season, which we kind of just we grant that to quarterbacks. But he's never played a game in the NFL before, so there's some question there. All right,
Write this down.
Judley.
All right, I'm going back to the Aaron Rodgers well.
Oh,
so
goody.
Write this down. Aaron Rodgers will sign with an NFL team after July 1st, 2025.
He's going to make us wait.
He's going to make
3 more months.
He is going to hope that McCarthy doesn't work or that the Vikings panic. He's counting on the Vikings being weak, which, by the way, I don't think, knock on wood, is going to happen. But the fact he hasn't, like, if he wanted to go to Pittsburgh, just sign with Pittsburgh. He like goes there in very mysterious Aaron ways last week. 6 hours in the building, sitting with the coaching staff. You weirdo, just sign with them or don't. But I think he's going to wait it out.
It's in his best interest to wait it out.
It is,
right? Because the Steelers could, I guess, they could draft like Jackson Dart or something.
If the Steelers aren't going to make a move, yes, but I still think. I think post-draft, there's a very good chance that the Steelers are going to call the Falcons and tell Kirk, if you want to come here. Because at some point in time, a 41-year-old making you wait, you got to have some pride. Like, he's not good enough to pull this stunt.
So what are the Steelers' options right now? Are Mason Rudolph is on their team.
Correct. So they've got this fallback. So
they got at least a backup quarterback.
Yep.
They could sign Carson Wentz, I guess, to be a starter. These are all very suboptimal options because Russell Wilson just signed with the Giants and he was probably never going back. You could draft like Jackson Dart, but are you going to start him week 1 as maybe a stretch first-round pick? So your options are basically Aaron Rodgers on Aaron's timeline or swing a trade with the Falcons for Kirk, I guess. Who's also old, coming off an Achilles a year and a half ago.
I would rather, if Aaron's going to make me wait, and it's clear that he's got an agenda, as he always does, I would rather trade for Kirk.
And then Aaron is officially in the Vikings or bust or some other injury bin.
Yeah, box him in.
Right?
Box him in. Let's see what he does then.
All right, Dex.
All right, I'll make a Vikings draft-related prediction to stack this on the board. Write this down. The Vikings do not draft a running back until day 3 of the draft.
Oh, yeah.
So no running backs until at least day 3. I think 1 and 2 are going to be different positions. Now, they have BPA on the board, obviously, but I don't think they'll take a running back until day 3 now.
All right.
Yeah, they're sitting pretty nice. Pretty nice in that room.
Write this down.
Right now. Okay, write this down. So because we like the Vikings running back situation and they overhauled the interior offensive line, I think they're going to keep climbing up the rushing attempts board here. I don't think they're going to put as much on McCarthy's plate, certainly as they put on Kirk's plate the first 2 years, KOC. Darnold last year, they took a little off his plate. The Vikings went from like bottom 5 in rushing attempts to 15th or tied for 14th last year. Mm-hmm. So write this down. The Vikings will be top 10 in rushing attempts in the NFL. They're going to try. It's not going to be quite like Michigan and Harbaugh and like we run the ball until we have to throw it on 3rd and 8. And then JJ was great in those situations in college. But I do think they're going to lean much, much more into making it comfortable for him. We're going to ask some things out of you, but we're not going to ask you to be top 5 in pass attempts first year in the NFL. So top 10 in rushing attempts. All right, back to Brian. Second prediction.
All right, so write this down. At the midpoint of the season, so we can say like after week 9 has completed, Minnesota Vikings defense will rank top 3 in each of the following categories: yards allowed, and that's all like running, rushing, passing total, touchdowns, turnovers, and scoring.
Wow. That would make it one of the probably 3 or 4 best defenses in Vikings history since the Purple People Eaters.
And I feel like with these new acquisitions that we brought on and with who we have waiting in the wings, I think we can do it.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this yesterday, but I know they lost a couple pieces, Cam Bynum, but it does feel like a top 5 defense got better personnel-wise from last season, which is kind of crazy.
Write this down.
All right, Judd.
All right, off of the J.J. McCarthy appearance on Kay Adams' show yesterday, you can write this down. Kevin O'Connell will not declare J.J. McCarthy the starting quarterback until at the earliest after the second preseason game. So
you guys are going to poke him and prod him in minicamp,
starting day 1,
OTA.
And he's not going to say he's not going to declare his starter. He's just not going to, I don't think. He's going to take the first team reps. It's going to become abundantly clear unless something weird takes place. But he will not, like this whole, I don't know if there was a notion that like O'Connell was going to call McCarthy in and say, you are the guy, you're the starter. Like it's understood, but there's nothing official. It's like, it's not as much now, but back in the day, you didn't name your opening day starter in baseball till late, right? Oh, the manager finally revealed it. So until at the earliest after the second preseason game, it will cross his lips that J.J. McCarthy is going to start week 1.
And the second preseason game is at least 3 weeks into training camp after mini camp and OTAs where so just for some inside baseball here.
Yep.
Reporters get access to several different practices throughout May and June. So you'll get to see the reps. Mm-hmm. And then reporters get access to full practices for the first 2-ish weeks, 2.5, maybe even like 3 weeks of training camp.
I think it's at least 3 weeks of training camp we get access.
For sure up until the second preseason game and like the scrimmages that they're going to hold against whatever team. Mm-hmm. So what's going to be funny is Judd's camp notes with his little field goggles, binoculars, and your
field
notebook.
Glasses, please.
Field glasses, sorry.
Yeah, they're not really upset.
You're going to be able to chart that J.J. McCarthy took 80% of the first team offense snaps for the first 3 weeks of camp.
Yeah.
But Kevin O'Connell is going to say, listen, we have a room of quarterbacks here.
Yes.
We're just going day by day in practice.
Yeah.
And we don't have to declare anything. I saw Stephen A. Smith and company took the quote wildly out of context yesterday.
Yeah.
They were like ripping McCarthy for complaining about. Was that what that was? Like they thought he was complaining that the Vikings hadn't crowned him QB1 yet.
I saw it was grabbed and I didn't even watch it. It's I have no idea. That whole exchange was absolutely fine. There was nothing wrong. And then McCarthy went out in the golf tournament and made a beautiful putt. I told you, Dex, he's a hockey guy. He's a hockey player, man. That stroke was a thing of beauty.
But just like I said, they put him first in the scramble. You give us the line. But if you drop it in the hole, I mean, we don't even need the line there, JJ. Look at that.
Great form.
But you did call it, yeah.
Nice.
Write this down.
Okay, I think we're back to Dex here for his second.
Yeah, write this down. At least 2 teams in the top 10 of the NFL draft will trade out of their original pick. So as of now, which could happen, so these trades could technically happen now, and then throughout, obviously, the first 10 picks of the draft, at least 2 of those teams will trade out of their original selection.
Okay.
There's a bunch of trades up.
Well, there's a bunch of speculation that are the Giants even maybe this means that Cam Ward is going number 1 and the Giants don't like Shedeur Sanders or they don't think he's going to be there at 3, which is why they got Jameis Winston and Russell. A lot of speculation.
Write this down.
Going on right now.
Love it.
Okay, write this down. So you guys saw the news here in the last 48 hours, the major UFL news that the San Antonio Brahmas have named Kellen Mond their QB1. Former Vikings third-round pick. One of Mike Zimmer's favorites.
Yeah.
We see him practice.
I've seen practice. I don't
see the game.
anymore.
See the game.
Yeah.
That was. I think that was.
He walked
that was
out of the
great
draft.
One. Yeah.
Now that we know that Spielman took him and he walked out, Zimmer went home.
It's hilarious. But this weekend, I think, March 29th, the San Antonio Brahmas travel to the Arlington Renegades on Fox.
On Fox.
And we're gonna get a week 1 matchup, and I think, write this down, Kellen Mond will account for at least 2 touchdowns with his legs and or arm in this game. A big, tough road game against the Arlington Renegades. He's going to come in with I don't know how many turnovers, I don't know what his completion percentage is, but he's going to account for multiple touchdowns in week 1 against the Arlington Renegades. Write it down.
Write this down.
Love it.
Mike Zimmer may have given up on Kellen Mond, but the San Antonio Brahmas haven't, nor have I.
Who coaches them? The Brahmas?
It's a great question, Judd.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the show and we're going to
I
Google
was
that
curious
right now.
who coached.
San Antonio Brahmas coach. Oh, wow. Is this real?
There's some big name coaches in here, yeah.
Of crazy household names. Mm-hmm. Hold on a second. Is it Wade Phillips? Is this accurate?
He was a coach there at one point.
Oh, Wes. Wes tipped him off. I saw him
Wade
in camp. He's
Phillips.
really good.
He was. Yeah.
He's really good.
Oh, yeah. There's some household names here. Kevin Hogan is one of the backup quarterbacks wasn't he a Patriots quarterback?
John DeFilippo is coaching Memphis.
Yeah, I think he's in at least his second year. Still wants to fight Mike. I'd fight him at the 50-yard line.
That's amazing. Yeah, and by the way, the San Antonio Brahmas have a rich history of household name head coaches. 2 years of existence. But Hines Ward was their head coach in 2023, and this will be the second year of Wade Phillips.
Wow. Now I will say this, since the prediction is in the can, you could get burned by a very unfortunate circumstance.
Because is there questions of whether
the UFL players are threatening to strike before these games?
Yeah.
Well, I just said week 1. Can I? Well, I guess I said against Antonio, right?
You said against the Brahmas.
But
so
if they shove the game, it's against the Renegades or
yeah. But I mean, if the players strike, who knows? The league might just shut down now. Never be heard from.
This could be a bad beat.
Kellen Mond, man, his life. What a tough life. Finally got a job. The league's out of business.
This could be a bad beat. All right, Brian, your third and final prediction.
All right, so I have a few left. Couldn't decide here. I thought about maybe doing another Cam Akers release and reacquire, but we'll go with how about Kevin O'Connell's next press conference? No matter what it is, assuming he gets asked a minimum of 5 questions. So if he gets asked 4 questions, that one doesn't count. But if he gets asked 5 or more questions, he will answer no fewer than 80% of those questions, beginning with the word "yeah." Every press conference I see, the first thing out of his mouth is "yeah." So I'm going to predict 80% or more.
I love this. And the Vikings do put up the official transcript. I don't know if they will edit the word "yeah" out, so we may have to go to the tape and like literally watch this with a fine-tooth comb.
Yep.
No, this is a great prediction. I love this.
Love it, man. Brian, great stuff here. Some parlays, some press conference, transcript stuff here, kind of all over the board. Since you've got this life-altering platform here on Purple Daily, is there anyone in your life you'd like to thank that helped you get to this moment?
Absolutely. First and foremost, my dad, obviously, for bringing me into this misery. But mostly I want to thank my wife for all her support. She is actually a lifetime Packer fan, so she puts up with a lot. Wow. I put up with a lot, but very supportive. She actually supports my clothing habit, and she was very supportive of me bringing our younger son to his first NFL game when the playoff game got moved to Glendale. I'm in Arizona now, so we got to go to that game. I mean, it wasn't what we wanted, but hey, we were there, and it was a good time. So,
yeah, awesome. That's a pretty cool vibe. It felt like a Vikings home game just watching it on TV.
It did. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. So, Brian, great stuff here, man.
Thank you.
Awesome
Thanks for
work.
having me on.
Hopefully, we'll see you again sometime.
You bet.
All right. Guest listener, predictor Brian there. Hey, before we make our final predictions and get to a little bit of the latest Vikings news, the 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is happening at the Fillmore in Minneapolis. We just had a fun little content production meeting yesterday. We got some fun ideas for draft night. But if you want to join us and celebrate this team, celebrate this podcast, and you guys, the audience, it's one of our favorite events that we do. It probably is our favorite event every single year, and it's back at the Fillmore April 24th at 7 p.m. Tickets are available, scorenorth.com/draft, scorenorth.com/draft. VIP tickets include a meet and greet with the show beforehand, premium balcony seating, food and drink vouchers, a Purple Daily snapback hat. So check it all out at scorenorth.com/draft. And yeah, we appreciate Standard Heating and Air for helping us put this on. We appreciate Roku, who's gonna provide a bunch of TVs for you guys. You can watch the draft coverage as well. And 2 Men in a junk truck, and all of the partners that help us put the show. Speaking of 2 Men in a truck, some free agents might need some help either getting rid of junk or moving into their new home here in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, whether it's moving, consolidating that junk, it can be one of the worst things you do is move. Hire some professionals. Hire the guys at 2 Men in a Truck. They're going to help you out. And whether it's a single item, full-scale cleanup, no job is too big or too small for 2 Men and a junk truck. They even specialize in garage and basement cleanout. So you've put everything in there in your first house. Now you got to get out of that stuff. Well, they can come out and help you out there. What they quote, no hidden fees or service charges, and they offer free, no obligation, same-day quotes. So go to 2menandajuncktruck.com to find a location near you. That's 2menandajuncktruck.com.
All right, boys. Our final predictions.
Write this down.
Starting with Sports Dad.
All right. As we discussed a couple days ago, the NFL overtime rule for the regular season will be changed to allow both teams to possess the ball starting next season. So the regular season rule will now be synced up with the playoff rule. so that if you score a touchdown on your opening position, your opponent still gets a chance to match that. So, because again, I come back to from if you are a coach, it makes 0 sense to have one set of rules for 17 games and then change those. So I think they changed that rule.
So here's a question off that strategically, because right now it's a 10-minute overtime right now in the regular season, right?
Yep.
And that's a final stop, right? So if let's say the first team kicks a field goal,
Yep.
you get a chance to get the ball back, but if your possession, the 10 minutes, like if you don't do something at the end of the 10 minutes, you don't get an extension, right?
As of now, they've talked about going to a fifth. They've talked about going to a normal quarter as well, so 15 instead of 10.
But that 15 in the playoffs, let's say the first possession takes 12 minutes and a team kicks a field goal in the playoffs, and now the next team gets the ball back with 3 minutes left in that quarter. They aren't capped at 3 minutes, right? They get their second possession even if it leaks into a second quarter of overtime.
Yes, it's no tie.
But in that's my question in the regular season. Would they flip that rule and say, okay, both teams get a possession no matter what, but it's still a 10-minute cap on the overtime?
Oh, I see.
So you could literally you could run an 8-minute possession and score a touchdown. And the other team gets the ball back, but you only get 2 minutes to operate to tie the game.
So they could, but they'll probably go to 15 to allow a little bit more time. But I get your point. Yeah. So here's just spitballing here. Here's a question: would there be if you know that you're going to get a possession, no matter the result, would there be teams that would elect to defer to start the OT then to get the ball second? Because if you shut that team down, then and
you know what you have to score.
Game
it's
is
like
over.
College. Yeah.
Yes. So the game done.
Or would you rather just go to the college rule? Maybe it's not the 25-yard line. Maybe you put the ball on the 40-yard line instead, just to get the show on the road.
Yeah.
But keep it on the fringe of field goal range. Would you rather do both teams get the ball?
I think I'd rather do that.
Or both teams get the ball starting at the opposing team's 40-yard line
with no clock. Boy, I think I'd prefer to see full possessions, but it definitely does change your thinking.
And the no clock thing is probably a non-starter because NFL Players Association is already really worried about the amount of games and the off-season work and stuff. And we don't want a 5 overtime situation in week 6 when you have a short week on Monday night. You got to
get to it would defeat the going from the noon games to the 3:15 games as quickly as possible.
And then think about if, let's say, it's a 3:15 game that now is in its third overtime, college style,
right?
But it's leaking into the Sunday night window or something. It's all
Sunday night football. You can't mess with Sunday night football.
No,
you can't mess. Turn off the Steelers and Raiders.
60 minutes
time
can
for
wait.
an overtime.
60 minutes can wait, but Sunday Night Football, we got to get that show on the road.
I hate that clock.
Sunday next on 60 minutes.
The weekend is over the second you hear that stupid clock.
I can't. When I talk about PTSD of Labor Day and stuff, it still hits me a little bit when I hear the 60-minute clock and even the Sunday Night Football intro. It's like, oh, I haven't done my homework yet. Oh God, I gotta.
School starts at 7:45.
Your school starts in 12 hours. Oh God,
you're so young. The Sunday Night Football. You're so young. Yes, the CBS thing back in the day. Coming up next on CBS from Pat Summerall, 60 Minutes. No.
Willies, speaking of Willies.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Write this down.
All right, write this down. I'll make a UFL prediction too. God willing, there's no labor strike, but I'll keep it somewhat ambiguous.
God willing, we continue to hold those.
I'm monitoring
down
too.
To $55,000 a year.
I
just sent him a text. I said, "Where do we stand?"
Wait,
in the
he's
UFL?
on the UFL labor beat right now.
Yeah. He is he said, "I am the only reporter in the country covering this," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what makes it great."
Did they assign him this, or is he saying, "I got this. Put it on my back, ESPN. Let's do this."
He does a lot of rule
stuff, right?
Rule stuff, and no, I think he's sort of assigned this, and they carry games, so they actually care.
Yeah.
But this show has an in to the boardroom right now.
That's so
great.
What did he say?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, before Dex makes his
prediction.
I shouldn't help you, but I will.
I love how you withheld this until after I made mine. Judd has like full details on this.
Yeah.
They said all options are open now and during the season. So perhaps they'll just extend the negotiating period into the season.
This is like
or could they wait literally until like Fox goes live on?
Yeah.
Is it Saturday of this weekend?
Fox
Sunday
would
this
replace
weekend?
them with like something else, right?
They'll literally bring fans in. Hey, if you weigh over 200 pounds and you are 6 feet tall, we've got a uniform for you.
Coming up next, Melrose Place.
This is like when the baseball labor wars are always going on, and Jeff Passan's watching Rob Manfred go from his trailer into the other player's union trailer, and he's just live tweeting like what's happening. This is exactly the same thing. Okay, so write this down. We're just gonna still do this. The St. Louis Battlehawks will beat the Houston Roughnecks, and I'll put in parentheses whenever they play. Okay, if this game gets delayed,
it's the first game that they play.
Whenever they play,
fair enough.
St. Louis Battlehawks, who are scheduled to play the Houston Roughnecks this weekend, St. Louis will win.
If the league somehow folds before the weekend, let it be known that this prediction would be incorrect because it would put an end date on it.
Oh, you'd both be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Write this down.
Folds.
Okay, write this down. I will say that with all the Vikings QB2 speculation, the Vikings will not add. Oh, I'm going to get burned on this. I'll say it this way. The Vikings will not add another quarterback to their roster until at least the draft. I think they're going to milk this I don't think they want to add to their comp pick formula.
Sure.
Which, like, I think Joe Flacco would impact that. Tannehill would not, but you're not in like a rush to sign Ryan Tannehill, who hasn't played in 2 years. A Kirk, I could still see a Kirk trade where you absorb some of the contract and like maybe get them to kick in a 5th round pick or something. But I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think it would be like a 2026 draft pick. And Kirk's not going to, he wants to see the landscape, right?
He
before
wants to
he
start
agrees.
somewhere. I just don't
Correct.
see it now. Yeah, I'm with you.
He wants to see if the Browns draft Shadur Sanders or whatever. So yeah, the Vikings will not add another quarterback to their roster until. Here's what's going to happen though. Like they're going to sign like Trey Lance to be QB3, bumping Rippon to be QB4, keeping QB2 slot open. And I'm going to get burned on this, but
I think you're going to get burned on like them signing a Brett Rippon equivalent, like not even
100%.
QB2. They're going to sign like some random guy, or the UFL is going to fold, and there's going to be some quarterbacks available.
Kellen Mond is going to
Kellen Mond's back or something.
Yeah. Wow.
So totally going to get burned on that. But
down.
okay, those are the write that down predictions. The only shows in America that actually put statistics next to our predictions here. We have a couple items in latest Vikings news we can get to. Standard heating and air conditioning. We already mentioned them as part of the draft party, but how can they help our audience, Dex?
Yeah, so if that furnace has kind of been making some weird sounds, you don't know what's going on in there, you're watching YouTube DIYs and you're trying to figure out what the hell am I even looking at, don't even start there. Just call Standard instead. Standard Heating and Air can help you take care of that furnace, those HVAC needs. Plus, if the ground does ever thaw here, I know it is supposed to be like in the maybe 70s on Friday, so we're getting closer to springtime and nicer weather. Want to make sure that the air conditioning is working appropriately too. Standard can help you out with that. Go to standardheatingandair.com and shout out to Standard for being a presenting sponsor of our Purple Daily Draft Party. We're super excited to have them on board. Call and contact Standard.
Amen. Also, hey, Dennis Kirk is back with Score North podcast throughout Dennis Kirk has been a multi-year sponsor too of the Score North Twin Show, which Dex is going out to St. Louis for the Twins opener. He covers the Twins for us. So if you're a Twins fan who's also a Vikings fan and you haven't checked out the Score North Twin Show or the Score North Twin Show YouTube channel, this is a great time to go click that subscribe button on one of our other YouTube channels. But Dennis Kirk is the title sponsor of the 36th annual Donnie Smith Bike Show this weekend. It's the official kickoff to spring riding season with some of the best motorcycle builds in the country and the largest indoor swap meet. So come visit the Dennis Kirk booth at the St. Paul River Center this weekend, March 29th and March 30th. You can spin the wheel for a chance at prizes, swag, concert tickets, and kickoff riding season for all you Ragnars out there. Let's make it happen. Okay, latest Vikings news. We start with a Dan Orlovsky tweet. Famous for running out of the back of the Metrodome end zone with Jared Allen chasing him from 5 feet away. Mm-hmm. He's been an analyst on ESPN. We like Dan Orlovsky on the show. So he met J.J. McCarthy yesterday at the NFLPA Mexico golf outing where JJ sunk that like 25-foot breaking putt that's all over social media. And Dan Orlovsky tweeted this. Down at the NFLPA Classic in Mexico, I cannot express how impressive JJ McCarthy is and how he carries himself and interacts with the fellas. The Vikings will be just fine. And this is just like one person's opinion, whatever they're having I don't know if they're drinking or not, but they're golfing and having a good time down in Mexico. And immediately my mind went to the antithesis of this tweet from 10 years ago when players had the opposite opinion of Christian Ponder.
Oh.
So if there's Vikings fans with PTSD about McCarthy, is he just going to come in here and be another bust? When you talk to players 10 years ago, after they had met and hung around Christian Ponder for a couple years, they said, nice guy, but kind of like not as much of an alpha around the fellas. Like if you're going to be a franchise quarterback walking into a room, leading a room of 53 guys who are largely older than you are too, you can't really be a wallflower. You got to present yourself in a certain way. Yep. And I remember that being a talking point from 10 years ago. Players in the room and former players who met Christian Ponder. And you've heard, whether it's Dan Orlovsky or other people who've been around JJ McCarthy, they give you the opposite feedback of what we heard 10 years ago. So I would say this is a good sign.
Yeah, and look, this kid in McCarthy's case won a national freaking championship. Ponder didn't come close. And if you recall, the first red flag on Ponder was Trent Dilfer, who torched the draft pick. And we're all like, whoa, that is really harsh. And Trent Dilfer proved to be exactly right. Who at the time was, if I am correct on this, an analyst for ESPN, just like Dan is now. Yeah, there's this weird, I don't know, there's this weird undercurrent of assumption that because McCarthy was hurt, that there's going to be big problems here. I guess, look, as we all know, sports dad looking for red flags constantly, sometimes too much. I just don't get this one. I literally don't understand this one. Like, why does Orlovsky have to assure you that a kid that won a national championship with a big arm, why does he have to assure but it feels like he does. But
I think there's always a fear of the unknown, just period, in life. And then when you stack years and decades of Vikings quarterback trauma that fans have experienced, I get some of the I don't know. Like we literally saw Sam Darnold throw for 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. We've seen Aaron Rodgers produce, even though he's old. So I get that there is a segment of fans that feel like I don't know about this.
I'm not talking about them. I get that. I'm talking about there's this like national perception. Yeah. Oh, the Vikings are in trouble. What are they going to do? Are you going to go get a 41-year-old who's divisive? Like to start. And it's like, that's what I don't understand. I almost sympathize with the Vikings fans because, yes, you've been hurt a lot. I mean, you've had your heart ripped out. Brett Favre showed up and basically on heaven's doorstep sent you to hell. I get all that. But, Declan, it's more like this national perception around the league, the talking heads of, well, what are the Vikings going to do? The kid won a national championship. And again, I'll say the last thing. He tore his meniscus. His knee didn't fall off. It's repaired.
They watched Kevin O'Connell work magic with a guy who was deemed a bust, basically, and they won 14 games and everything looked great. And now you're gonna wipe that slate clean and start someone who's, to Phil's point, has never played a snap. I do understand where the national media is like, what are you guys even thinking here? Without having any context of really what the Vikings plan has always been. And I do get where there are some questions there. But at the end of the day, like if the Vikings were, let's say like last year, if the Vikings were like a 6-win team and they weren't a playoff team, they weren't that impressive and they were going to JJ, I don't think there'd be, this like fear of, be careful what you wish for here. You just had a great year with Sam Darnold. It's what they just saw. It's just recency bias, I think, for them.
And I guess where I sort of come in as the naysayer on the beware stuff is, okay, Vikings won 14 games. Darnold was absolutely beyond expectation. But we all watched the last 2 games. Like, those were nationally televised. Everyone on who wanted to watch those games. That was not like a regional meltdown. And it's like, okay, do you understand that yes, Sam didn't get a ton of help. He got sacked 9 times. The Rams game was a disaster. He was awful against Detroit. But in my opinion, you can't just watch those 2 games and say, how can you not bring him back? How can you not do it? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I would, and just to bring this discussion full circle here, while I understand where the PTSD comes from with, I guess, fans, and I do understand from a national perspective, if you're looking at this team saying, boy, they won 14 games, and they maybe made their roster better, adding some defensive players. This is the roster is ready to rock and roll, and the only big question is quarterback. Are you really sure about starting a guy that's like, is he going to be like a year or 2 behind a roster with a bunch of loaded veterans, Harrison Smith, Jonathan Allen, like perfectly fine discussion. But I feel like we are so prone to, when we discuss young quarterbacks coming into the league, we're so prone, especially Vikings fans and media, of leaning on the negative possibility that, well, what if, boy, you better watch out. What if he's Christian Ponder? Or, what if he's Tavares Jackson, or what if something, look at his knee. Teddy Bridgewater hurt his knee, and we draw the negative connotation first.
Sure.
What we spend almost no time doing at all, national media or Vikings fans, is having the other discussion, which is, what if he's Joe Burrow? Well, what if he's Josh Allen? Now, Josh Allen took a year or 2.
24 years ago in this town, okay? The Vikings had Jeff George. They had drafted Dante. And if you recall, going into the 2000 season, they talked to an aging Hall of Fame QB who had torn his Achilles, Dan Marino. And we're all like, Denny's going to get Dan Marino. Denny's going to get Dan Marino. It's going to be unbelievable. You can't start Dante. Now, they got blown out, but they went to the NFC Championship game with Dante.
And Dante led the NFL in touchdown passes.
Yeah. So like that, to me, that's the parallel, because Marino had been great, but quite frankly, he was probably at that point in time, much like Aaron is now, washed up.
Yeah.
And Dante Culpepper's career was cut short. It's unfortunate again, but you know what? He gave you some really good years, including an MVP type performance in 2004. He gave you some really good years as the 11th overall pick in the 99 draft.
Also worth noting here, last point, and then we'll say goodbye. And we got Thursday tomorrow, and we'll do our OG Write That Down predictions on Mackie and Judd and Score North YouTube channel. In non-salary cap settings like Major League Baseball, it is not a given that things even out, because inherently you've got certain franchises like the big market teams, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, etc., that can just spend more money and they can outspend their mistakes, and over time those teams have an inherent advantage. Mm-hmm. In the salary cap leagues, NHL, Major League, NBA, NFL, if you take away the fringes where you have some franchises like the Jets and the Bengals historically that are either cheaper or have a train wreck owner, so let's take away those fringes. Everything else tends to even out if you are even a competently run franchise over time. I know that it hasn't evened out yet for the Vikings because they are the greatest franchise to never win their league's championship. And they have had bad luck after bad situation at quarterback. But believe it or not, the Vikings in a salary cap league, well-run organization, are very much due for a franchise quarterback and a Super Bowl at some point. And so we'll see. I mean, if maybe Kevin O'Connell and J.J. McCarthy and the Wilfs finally break through here, or maybe it's going to take 5 more years and there's another quarterback. But the Vikings are very much due to hit on J.J. McCarthy here, to be their Josh Allen, to be their Joe Burrow, to be their Patrick Mahomes.
Let's find 100%. Out.
Yep. So, you know what? For timing purposes, you guys have been spared another Aaron Rodgers update here. Thank you. Congratulations to the audience.
Thank you.
I won't read you the Alec Lewis. We love him, but he has another Aaron Rodgers update here, basically saying we can't write it off until he signs with the Steelers. And he's right. But I'm going to spare you reading this whole thing for time purposes because we got to go. Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. We'll see you tomorrow on Thursday.